Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers, dear brothers and sisters all across the world. Thank you very much for joining Thaqalayn Talks presented to you by Noor Online Islamic Center. I am Ata, the host of this program. Throughout this holy month of Ramadan, Noor Online Islamic Center will present to you different topics and different episodes related to the holy month of Ramadan, fasting, Ahlul Bayt and Islamic lifestyle. For today's episode, we have invited Sheikh Hossein Latifi. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh Latifi, and welcome to the show.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah, and assalamu alaikum to your dear viewers.
Sheikh, for today's episode, we want to talk about an interesting topic. At the first look, it might not be related directly to the holy month of Ramadan or religious teachings, but I think it is the result of whether positive or negative understanding about the concept of religion, especially Islam and Islamic teachings, and the concept is spiritual crisis. Nowadays, modern men all across the world are somehow, we can say, afflicted with such an ailment or sickness, I call it, which is a kind of spiritual crisis. Before getting to more details on how does it affect our look into our lifestyle, let's be concerned a little bit about a definition of a spiritual crisis. What is it exactly?
Yes, thank you very much for the brilliant topic actually. And inshallah, as we go through the discussion, we're going to pinpoint the parts that are related to the month of Ramadan. So spiritual crisis, if I want to define it, as they say, there are two scales. At individual scale, spiritual crisis is a phase in someone's life, or sometimes phases or stages in a person's life that he or she goes through decisive moments of the life, and there are different reasons that this thing starts in the life of a person, like a tragedy, sometimes a spiritual experience that the person has, sometimes serious questions of the meaning of life that people have. That is the individual stage and scale of the discussion that is very important. Many of our brothers and sisters in Islamic community and out of Islamic community, people, they go through this crisis, and it's like a double-edged sword.
Yes.
It can come with good result, and unfortunately sometimes it can go into the destination that we don't expect.
So it very much depends on our understanding about the religions, especially inside the religion of Islam, and even Muslims can be exposed to such a crisis, isn't it?
Even to, you would say, greater degrees sometimes, yes,
okay.
because a person brought up with certain ideological concepts, especially at the younger ages, when he receives or she receives certain teachings, and throughout his or her adolescence, he goes through certain changes, and he or she needs to readjust those teachings or the content of those ideological concepts and dogmas. And then there's this social scale of the discussion, a spiritual crisis, in the sense that we can trace and see and delineate certain behaviors and problems that affect society as a whole, like people being so much centered on certain goals in their life that they have somehow totally forgotten other goals and other things that are necessary for their life as human beings. Like living like a machine and living a life without any sense or meaning in general. So that is another sense of the word that again is related to the Islamic teaching and the way Islam designs the society and the community. Inshallah, if we get time, we can.
Okay, yes, we can go to that. But before getting to more details about Islam, I want you to differentiate on the meanings of spirituality. Nowadays, we could see so many spiritual movements all around the world. They also tackle the issue of a spiritual crisis and a spiritual development, spiritual growth. How the spirituality defined in Islam is different from those spiritual mysticisms or movements, Sheikh?
Again, a very good question, because once we want to start a discussion, we should come to terms with the terms that we're using. And this spirituality, the word, has been used sometimes in opposite senses in secular and religious context. So spirituality in Islam, I think, when it is used in Islamic tradition even, it refers to like deeper layers of understanding religious beliefs or religious practices. When people they encounter religion, there's a surface layer. In our spiritual or Irfani tradition, it is called the shell of the religion.
Yes.
And then there's the core of the religious teaching or the experiences that people go through. So that is one sense of spirituality in Islam. And there's the dichotomy of tariqah and sharia, the dichotomy between spirituality and practices or the dogmas of Islam that is there. And traditionally we had this discussion among the scholars and researchers of Islam. But out of the Islam, spirituality is such a wide concept that includes different things like naturalist view on a human being or psychological experiences of people. It's very difficult to come up with a term that is both inclusive and at the same time having certain elements that keep it together. But not, because we want to focus on the Islamic sense of the term, I think we are at a better position.
That's right. And sometimes inside the faithful community we find so many people who are ardently eager to learn about Islamic teachings, Islamic beliefs, Quran, Hadith studies. But gradually, this sense of spirituality fades away in their soul and home.
Take this spiritual growth or spiritual experience, take it as a tool to fight with the ideological surface of the religion. There are two levels, as I said, two layers of religion. And this ideological shell of the religion, we have to keep it and respect it always. That's why sometimes the scholars, they feel insecure about discussion of spirituality, but throughout history there have been some people who would use this in order to break down the surface, and that is very dangerous because the shell and the ideology is what keeps us together. If you break it down, and there is no basis upon which we can be as a community.
And the basis is Sharia law.
Sharia, yes.
That's right.
Sharia and the apparent layer of it should be وَمَنْ يُعَظَّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ. This is important. Sometimes some people, because they confused it, they think if they break that, they can achieve spirituality. And yes, that is one source of the problem. Another is that in mainstream or in public sessions, you cannot always talk about prescriptions of people, individuals. Like nowadays you have doctors, they come to TV, they talk about general tips of health, how you can maintain your health, like reduce the sugar intake, I don't know, the salt or the fat. So these are general tips. The majalis that we have in our masajid, in the mosque, in the gatherings, are like this. It's the layer, the first layer of religion. We cannot expect a person goes on the pulpit and starts talking about the problem of that person. So we have to seek advice or seek help if we see in ourselves a problem, and we do not say, okay, it's enough for me that I attend this public session. No, the public session are the generalities. For me, going through, especially as a young person, a teenager person, for me as a person, individual, I have to seek help specifically more for myself, and then find a person who could at least give me some general tips about this journey that I'm going through.
That's right. Sorry, Shaykh, a very important question is regarding two important groups who have a spiritual crisis, but one of them take refuge in Islam to solve his own spiritual crisis. For example, like those people who have left in a secular world, they faced a kind of spiritual crisis, and now they convert to the religion of Islam and they find serenity and calmness inside. On the other hand, there are so many people who live inside Islamic societies and live with the Muslims Ummah. They have been born of Islam, inside Islam as a Muslim. They face a kind of a spiritual crisis, and in order to find solution to their problems, they go and take refuge in secularism. How is it some people run away from Islam or religion in general? It could be also monotheistic religions, I mean Judaism and Christianity too. But from the other side, those people who have serious spiritual crisis take refuge in Islam.
Yes, again, a good observation of some of the things that we see in our communities. There might be different analysis of the situation, but sometimes I think this might be an overall analysis of the situation. That part of the spiritual crisis is the rebelliousness of the person in certain stages of life.
Yes.
That he or she thinks that the problem that I have is the result of the surroundings, of the family, of the beliefs that I had.
Yes.
And then in order for me to have a better state, I need to just let go of these and then change my situation. This could be true in some level.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the problem that you have is that you are fixed in one understanding of Tawheed.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not about the Tawheed itself, it's about your understanding of Tawheed. And you have to open your heart to different readings of Tawheed. And then there are parts and layers and levels of understanding
Yes.
that could answer
Mm-hmm.
your questions. But unfortunately, sometimes they don't find the proper answer, they don't find the proper person to answer their questions. And there are some other reasons,
That's
as I
right.
said, yes. But your observation is a very accurate observation.
Okay.
Sometimes it happens through a spiritual crisis,
Yes.
and that's why I said we need people
Mm.
who could be the sources of
Yes.
help to.
Up to an extent that we find in the words of some people who have converted to the religion of Islam that they were so much hopeless that they even wanted to commit suicide. But a ray of hope, an incident, an event in their life related to religious teachings, a dream event, have saved their life, and they take refuge and asylum in the religion of Islam. And now they say that the crisis is done, now we are thinking about growth. But at the same time, we see so many doubts, skepticism inside the believers, which not only is a bridge to salvation and prosperity, but rather, we can say, a way to, I don't know, going down and down and down into the darkness of the soul and spirit, I call it. All in all, as you said, the base is important. I mean, the Sharia law, the base, and being faithful and being strong in that. Let me get to a very important question. I think somehow you answered it, but Sayyid Ali has said that sometimes people's beliefs are affected by the behaviors of certain Muslim scholars. For example, they observe some scholars doing these things that contradict their teachings, and leading people to questions whether Islam itself has inherent flaws, or is it the problem is with the scholars. Do you have any advice for these individuals, Sheikh?
Well, I believe, yes, the observation is true. Sometimes this happens. And I believe in every stage of history, we had this, we're going to have this, and we're having this.
Yes.
That we have ulama usu,
Yes.
evil scholars, okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's the end of the story I told you at the beginning. But then, I also believe that in every stage of history, we've been having this, and we're having this, and we are going to have that ulama al-khair or hujjaj,
Yes.
that the evidence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the proof for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala against people of that time.
Uh-huh.
So there are good scholars.
Yes.
Yes, I have this memory, a story with some people. I went to tabligh in some areas, and I realized a person told me, yes, my father doesn't pray the salat, and I told him, why you're not praying? He said, what's the use of praying? Even bad people at the beginning of Islam, munafiqun, Yazid, for example, he also used to pray. What's the use of the prayer? I told him, go and tell him, why are you focusing on the prayer of Yazid and not the prayer of Imam Hossein alayhi salam?
Very good.
Amir al-Mu'minin.
Yes.
If Yazid prayed, also Imam Hussein prayed. So sometimes it originates from the problem in me that I always focus on the
Yes.
bad people.
Okay.
There are always good people, and in my age, in the historical stage that I live, that they are hujjah against me. Yazid is not hujjah against me. Good people in my time, they will be used on the day of judgment as hujjah by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, you see, you lived in akhir al-zaman, okay, but at the same time that you lived, there were very good people, righteous people.
Yes.
So this justification doesn't work that, okay, I failed because it was akhir al-zaman. No, we have good people
Yes.
who lived at that time.
That's right. I think we got a famous Persian poem from Sheikh al-Bahai who says that اسلام به ذات خود ندارد عیبی، هر عیب که هست از مسلمانی ماست. Islam has no problem or no shortcoming by nature or essence. All the problems is because of our attitudes and our behaviors as Muslims. And I invite our dear listeners, dear brothers and sisters all across the world, dear non-Muslims who want to become familiar with the religion of Islam, please refer to authentic resources and references regarding Islam. Islam is not ISIS. Islam is not those radical groups. Islam is the text of the Holy Quran. Islam is the conduct and seerah of Prophet Muhammad and the Ahlul Maydah. Please refer to such authentic resources if you want to become familiar with, that's right, the religion of Islam. Okay, so many questions are coming up because of, I think...
it's the nature of the discussion that we're having.
That's right. Brother Amin has sent us a question. When conversing with our brothers and sisters, they are sometimes exposed to questions that target their beliefs and traditions, leaving them feeling weak, humiliated, and puzzled. What are your suggestions for those who haven't had sufficient Islamic education yet would like to defend their religion and Islamic traditions?
Yes, I think the brother is referring to the debate situations, debate situations or jadal as they say. First of all, in Quran we have وَجَادِلْهُمْ بِالَّتِهِ أَحْسَنُ. The best possible form of jadal is only allowed, debate. And many forms of debate that I see nowadays on YouTube, I don't know other social media, they're not the best possible form of debate to begin with. They're just there, and we have a hadith about mira when people are not looking after truth, they are just looking to prove themselves right, to go out victorious, and this is not what is expected from...
You mean by bringing arguments over arguments, deviate the discussion from the right path?
Yes, there are different techniques we use to just distract...
Fallacy or something like that. That's
yes, to build the discussion. So, first of all, avoid all of this. And this actually took place at the time of our Imams, alayhimus salam. Right? There were some side discussions about whether Quran was makhluk, created, not created, and Imams told their followers, just keep away from these discussions, because nothing good comes out. There is a discussion about whether what is the nature of Quran, but in this setting, you're only going to ruin it. So, yes, I think even if you're an educated scholar with all the knowledge that is necessary, sometimes you need to avoid certain debate settings.
Yes.
And let alone people who are not educated in this professionally, they just have some research, respected, good, but it's not enough for a person to engage in a serious debate. That is one thing. But when the setting of a debate is a healthy setting, yes, that is good, and you might engage in it, a person who has proper knowledge, and then maintaining the proper etiquette that we have in our ahadith. That, for example, beautiful ahadith that we have in the presence of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, different companions of the Imam engaged in a debate with people who had other ideologies, and then after the debate finished, the Imam analyzed and evaluated the engagement of the people. In the kalam, they discuss about this when they want to say what kind of discussion is allowed in Islam, what kind of discussion is actually harmful and it's not helping.
That's all right. Okay. The other major part of today's question and episode is the concept of doubt. You know, nowadays we could see, especially because of the presence of the social media, TV, radio stations, and the networks all around the world, you know, they're active in their own camps. I mean, we have so many radios and TVs who are active in Camp al-Haq, Batil, okay? So we can say satanic temptations, unfortunately, are also over there, and we can say posing so many doubts and questions and ambiguities about Islam and religious teachings. They try to deviate the people from the right path. But is doubt necessarily a negative thing, Sheikh?
Let me start by making two distinctions. There's a distinction between doubt and disappointment. Ash-shak wal-yas.
Very good.
And there's a distinction between doubt and wonder. Al-hayra. So, doubt in the sense of disappointment, yes, it's a negative thing. And the distinction is there. You can see it in shaitan. For example, shaitan did not have any doubt regarding the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But he was disappointed. He had, yes, disappointment about the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The problem of shaitan is not doubt about the existence. And on the other side, I can have doubt, but I'm not disappointed. When I have doubt, what happens? I have different options. One option is this. يَهْدِي إِلَيْهِ مَنْ أَنَابَ. Hidayah happens for a person who is in the state of dalala. There are different degrees of dalala.
Yes.
So one degree of dalala is the doubt that I have. If I do inaba, I turn back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's impossible if the promise of Allah is not fulfilled. He for sure will guide the person. Yahdi, this is the promise of Allah. So I had doubt, but I was not disappointed. So some people, they make a confusion between, yes, when I have a doubt, it means I'm disappointed? No, brother, sister, you have doubt, you're not disappointed.
Yes.
A person can have certainty at the same time, he can be disappointed.
Yes.
So what is bad is disappointment.
Yes,
min rahmatillah, from the mercy of Allah, from the guiding power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is dangerous. But doubt itself, no. Another thing is wonder. It's famous, Socrates said, philosophy starts with wonder. Or in the dua of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Rabbi zidni tahayyur. Tahayyur, some people mistranslate it, especially in this context, perplexity. No, the Prophet does not ask for perplexity. He asks for wonder in the sense of when you encounter with great teachings of religion, you feel in yourself a sense of awe, sense of bewilderment, sense of baffled.
Yes.
So this is a good thing because you can use it in order to expand your knowledge, your ma'rifah. So wonder is different than doubt.
Yes.
Actually, you need this in order to expand, in order to break down whatever thing that you believed in previously, the content and not the shell.
Yes.
And then replace it with newer version, updated version of the concept of Tawheed, the meaning of Wahy, the meaning of Nubuwwah. All of these exist in the books, but nobody goes after them. We have a version of Islam that we have encountered as children, and then we keep it until the end of our lives. Sometimes no, we have to improve that. We have to start a journey of encountering and familiarizing ourselves with Islam in a better way.
Yes.
So this sense of wonder, the distinction between wonder and doubt also is there. And there's another thing. Some people, they create a business of doubt and doubt making for themselves. Because they like it to create a persona of themselves, I don't know, a figure that is critical thinking. Well, it's not critical thinking. We have a concept in Islam, tamadi fa dalal, means when you want to play with it. You have your answer, but you want to play with it. That is not a true characteristic of a person who is searching for truth. Is a person who has created a business for himself because he wants to have a reputation as this person.
Nowadays, around the world, we can find so many so-called broad-minded intellectuals inside the religion of Islam by posing these questions.
Yes.
More Catholic than Pope sometimes.
Yes. Unfortunately, this has become like a value for some people that they resist against. They have the answer, but they want to. This happens when people sometimes, the similarity is when you have remembrance, dhikrullah, but intentionally you drag yourself into ghafla, heedlessness. So you had it. Why are you trying to change it?
Yes.
Sometimes this happens unintentionally. The attention to dunya. Imam Khomeini, radwanullah alayhi, in Arba'un Hadith, he writes that one of the sources of waswasa of shaitan, the waswasa of shaitan is something happening from an agent outside of us, shaitan. But it is us opening the doors of our heart to shaitan. He says why this happens, it's because we give so much attention to dunya. We get so much familiar with dunyavi, the things related to this dunya, that shaitan takes the best of us and finds a way to come to us with doubts and heedlessness. So there was a moment that I was at the best level of yaqeen, but because I got engaged in the business of dunya so much, and I did not keep a level of, or maintain a level of relationship with the spiritual world, then shaitan finds it easy to starts creating doubt and waswasa in our hearts.
And sometimes, as the famous sentence says, acquiring knowledge becomes a veil on your eyes and soul in order to find a spiritual growth and a spirituality. You think that you know the truth.
Oh, you touched upon a very important, I wanted to talk about this, is how we can diagnose a spiritual crisis.
Yes.
Now, there is an opposite nature here. I think it's the only thing that works in the opposite way. You can only say I'm in a spiritual crisis when you think you're not in a spiritual crisis.
Right.
You see, when you think now that I'm in a good shape spiritually, I have knowledge, I have ibadat, it is one indication, major indication of you being in a very bad spiritual
crisis.
And in the opposite, if you believe that you're spiritually bad, this is an indication of you being at the very good level of spirituality. The deeper this feeling is, like if it's something that we say parroted, no. But if you deep down feel that regardless of whatever I've done,
yes.
I have knowledge, I don't know, practices about that and everything, but deep in my heart I believe that I'm nothing. This is an indication of you being spiritually in good shape. Because this is the feeling of dhilla in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
So you mean the concept of ujb, which is very much we can say disapproved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Prophet Muhammad and the Ahlul Bayt, can also happen for religious people. They got into the degree that they will boast with their religious teachings or mysticals, even they will get to some degrees, for example, spiritually speaking or mystically speaking, having eyes over the hidden world or something like that. But this is the time that satanic temptations can enter into the soul.
You heard it, that shaitan has different tools for different people. For religious people, the most functioning tool for shaitan is this ujb. That you have a good dream sometimes. The person was good spiritually, but this dream just destroyed everything. Because after that experience, now he thinks of himself as the center of the universe or anything.
Yes.
So keeping the balance, that at the same time, you feel low spiritually, but at the same time you don't lose your hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because there is a negative side effect for this situation, that people say, okay, I'm spiritually low, then he arrives at the point of disappointment and despair, and yes, that is the negative side effect. Keeping the balance, that when I consider myself, I'm the worst of creation of Allah. But at the same time, I do not lose hope. I have tawakkul.
That's right.
The famous verse of poetry from Hafiz, if you trust your own knowledge, your own taqwa, your own practices, that tariqat kafaris.
Yes.
This is equal to disbelief.
Yes.
If you have all the good things, at the end of the day you have to have full tawakkul, trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Okay. And the modern world has aggravated the situation. Modernity and especially, secularism, rational understanding, mere rational understanding of the world around, and limiting everything to our brain power, I think has aggravated the situation, Shaykh.
Yes, I would call it narcissistic modern humanism, that you're the center of everything, follow your own dreams, individuality. These could have good meanings.
Yes.
I'm not saying that they have bad, but emphasis on this, overemphasis on these, with the absence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, could have led people to a situation that they think it's they themselves alone, and it is they should carry this burden of a spiritual power or a spiritual journey. Unfortunately, yes, the main content that we have in modern psychology and entertainment, watch the movies, everything about you, yourself, and your dream, nothing about your connection to a greater being. And then, yes, it's actually makes the problem even.
Sorry, Shah, correct me if I'm wrong. So, mere religious obligations and wajibat cannot necessarily help you in order to reach a kind of a spiritual growth or development. That's why in the religion of Islam, there are some recommended actions to safeguard those obligations. I mean, in any moment and second of your life, if you want to keep yourself spiritually grown up, you have to always consider Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and have a kind of tawheedi look in every aspect and moment of your life. That's why maybe these mustahabbat and recommended actions are important too, isn't it? So, I mean, mere leaning on and trusting in your obligations as a Muslim and passing them as a duty or responsibility as a Muslim is not enough.
No, it's not enough. Even carrying out mustahabbat would not be enough, without that proper intention. How? For example, Layal al-Qadr al-Hadith.
Yes.
I go to the program of Layal al-Qadr, like I spend 5 hours, may Allah accept, and then I come out feeling now I'm ready.
Okay.
Sometimes some people, they return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they make repentance to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just to get ready for greater sins, may Allah forbid. You see, this happens. That, yeah, if you hadn't had that repentance, it was better, actually, because this is actually making you stronger in other hours of your life. That is why the wrong intention, whether in wajibat or mustahabbat, create problem. But the right intention and khushu', that is, الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ مُؤْمِنُونَ, one sign Allah finds about them or tells about them, that they're in their salat, they have khushu'. That is the result that was supposed to be yield from salat or nawafil.
That's right, okay. And sometimes referring to some people who do not give us proper answers to our questions might make a kind of hopelessness in our heart and souls. I mean, for example, you refer to an alim or a scholar in Islam who, we can say, by face is an alim, but proper understanding of religion was not given to him as a talent, so ambiguous answers are given to us. You might refer to another alim, so you got a very perfect, comprehensive answer to your question. I mean, still there are so many degrees and levels to understandings among the ulama and scholars too. You must refer to the authentic resources.
Yes, and there is one thing, I don't know whether to call it a problem or not, that some of the scholars, although they know those levels, they don't disclose it. Because there are different reasons why they do that. One reason is that they believe if a person continues doing those wajibat, obligatory acts, he or she can arrive at a point that he understands. And if I expose or disclose these secrets or these without proper preparation in that person, it's not going to help her or him. That's one reason, but generally your observation also is true that not everyone is for every act. Some people, they have a special function and we have to find them for our questions.
That's all right. So Shariat, Tariqat and Haqiqat, I mean this Sharia, Islamic law, Tariqat is the way, and the Haqiqat, which is the truth, must come together as a triangle without, if we miss one part for the other, or some people might say, okay, nowadays through yoga, we can reach, or through this sport or that sport. And unfortunately, some of them are really against morality and code of ethics, for example, Nurism or something like that. So how spirituality and spiritual growth is possible through Nurism,
Yes, that's
These
what
are
I
the
said.
deviations because you see nowadays.
The opposite senses of spirituality.
Yes.
They use spirituality in the worst sense of the word.
Okay.
Yes, you're right. Faithless spirituality is a problem that we have, and there's a trap that some of the brothers and sisters in the community fell for it. Unfortunately, yes. And this leads to instability in one's spiritual journey.
Very good, Sheikh. Okay, really fruitful and interesting discussion. We got an audio question from Brother Ali. Let's listen to that. You are watching Thaqalayn Talks.
Assalamu alaikum, can you hear me?
Assalamu alaikum, brother. Crystal clear.
Thank you, Sheikh, for bringing up the subject of wonder. Somehow it reminds me of a line in Lord of the Rings, which was, not all those who wonder are lost. By the way, so my grasp of what the Sheikh said is, we can view doubt as a tool to reassess and strengthen our beliefs. But would you recommend that some people, under some specific circumstances, test their beliefs by deliberately exposing themselves to questions and content that somehow challenge their current thoughts? I mean, is it worth it or is it too risky? After all, we're talking about someone's belief and redemption. Thank you.
Thank you. I would give you the answer that Imam Khomeini gave to a person who asked him the same question. The question was posed to Imam Khomeini as, when you say you found truth, have you found truth only in this ideology, or you actually search in other ideologies and then you realize that they are wrong and this ideology is wrong?
Okay.
Imam says, I did my research, but when I found the truth, I let go of it.
Mm-hmm.
So the question that whether we should deliberately start doubting, no, I don't think that's the correct way to go. But if you mean by doubt wandering,
Okay.
researching,
Yes.
yes, that is good. That
Question
is,
and answer.
question and
yes.
answer in a proper setting,
Yes.
when a person is there, when sources are there. Yes, I call it wonder, I don't call it shak, because we have in our hadith, shak is from shaitan. And it doesn't mean like shak is always bad, but you shouldn't create it. There's always ways for shaitan to create, but you can have wonder. And most important, or more importantly, when you have your answer, don't go back to it. The thing that I have seen so much in different situations with some people, that, as I said, they start a business, they create a business for themselves as playing with the doubts, like showing to others that I have greater critical thinking, I have like these skills to question everything. And this leads, after a while, for them to lose grasp of whatever that they previously had believed in, and those essentials of the faith actually.
That's right, okay. We have a beautiful ayah in the Holy Quran, Surah Isra, ayah 36, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states, do not pursue that of which you have no knowledge. Indeed, hearing, eyesight, and the heart, all of these are accountable. You know, sometimes the main problems are from these sides. I mean, from our eyesight. For example, we are watching social media, a good doubter question is over there, we follow that. After spending 1 or 2 months, we see how much away we are from even Sharia laws. We spend the time on something that has no fruits, only questions and questions. As you said, satanic temptations enter from that. Why the heart and the hearing and the eyesight, especially nowadays, you know, as I said, the camp of batil and the falsehood are really active.
Yes, that opens up the discussion of mujalasa.
Yeah.
Mujalasa, when you spend time. So, if you spend time more with the people of batil,
Okay.
and do not spend similar time with the people of haq, then what could be the result? A person says, okay, I have studied this and that. Okay, how much, brother? How many times, how many hours have you spent studying this? It says 10 hours a day, for example. Okay, have you studied 10 hours a day tafsir of the Holy Quran? Have you studied? No. Because you see at the end of the day, they spend more time, they have mujalasa with the people of batil more than they have mujalasa with, and this gives color to their judgment. This creates a bubble in which they have certain things that they cannot get rid of.
That's right. And throughout the history of Islam, we had so many scholars who started their works. I mean, but they were always under the umbrella of Sharia law. They have never left it. They look for different topics for answers, visiting this scholar or that scholar. Even they have written some books that might at first look to be a kind of, we can say, misunderstanding or misconception about the Holy Quran, or I don't know, a hadith or the history of Islam. But we can say, all in all, we could see at the beginning, at the end of their writings, they had the courage and shuja'at. They said that, okay, this is for the sake of Allah, my writings, you know, I tried to do it under Sharia law, I took wudu and ablution and this and that. So all in all, a spiritual purification was the main goal of the scholars in the past. As you said, there was not an iota, an atom of boasting or showing off through their compilations. This is what we also must take care of. Okay, Salamun alaikum. Another question. Yesterday I had problems. Okay, sorry, the question was per se than yesterday. So, okay, so it's regarding the merits of marriage related to last night. If you can answer the question related to marriage, okay. So many people doubt about getting married or not.
A spiritual crisis of itself.
Yeah, it's a spiritual crisis itself. Okay, Brother, we will for sure shift your question to Sayyid Haidar Hassanin to get answer from that. Okay, Shaykh, your final remarks regarding spiritual crisis in the modern world.
Well, I would say, like the specialist in psychology nowadays always say, seek help.
Yes.
See, if you think you have a mental situation,
Yes.
first of all, don't feel shy. Then seek help from proper sources, and that's true about a spiritual crisis in a religious context. If you think you're going through phases of spiritual crisis, doubts, or everything, it's okay to seek help, but not seeking help from your grandmas. Or
Yes.
I respect all the elders and all the people in the communities that, but sometimes it's not enough. People, they have experiences, that's great. We should take lessons from their experiences, but the experience that they have is only for the life that they had. Maybe I'm going through a different life. So never forget to contact an alim, and then start a friendship with the sources that we have. With the Quran, there is a hadith that says, "Man adkhalahu fi ad-din rajal, akhrajahu min ad-din rajal." If a person enters into religion because of people, like I am a Muslim because of my parents, akhrajahu min ad-din rajal. There will be people who will take him out of the fold of Islam easily with some questions. But if a person enters the fold of Islam because of the Quran and Sunnah, because he has built a friendship with Quran and Sunnah, then tazul al-jibal, the mountains will be shaken before he leaves religion. So his faith would be strong enough. So I would say this connection to the sources is necessary, and inshallah, brothers and sisters, they go after this and they establish their own companionship and relationship. As they say, reborn Muslims.
Yes.
It's correct, to be reborn Muslim. Now I have a fresh encounter with religion, this time on my own, with my own critical thinking and with my own wonder.
That's all right. Also, Prophet Muhammad in the famous hadith said that I will leave among you two important things. Thaqalayn. Yeah, Thaqalayn talks also the title of the program, that is Kitab Allah wa Ahl Bayti Atrati. Two authentic resources in order to refer to find the true meaning of spiritual growth and to find solutions to our spiritual crisis are for sure the text of the Holy Quran, the true exist of the Holy Quran, and the statements of Prophet Muhammad and the Ahl al-Bayt. Thank you very much, Shaykh Hossein Latifi, for a nice elaboration regarding this topic. It was very kind of you. Let me, at the end of the program, which is President Zuna, light check. Okay, there is no more question now, no audio, no text one. Thank you very much for answering the questions of the participants who participate in the program live. It was very kind of you. And thank you very much, dear viewers, for watching Thaqalayn Talks, presented to you by Noor Online Islamic Center.